Thanksgiving, being thankful, grateful, turkey, stuffing, mashed potatoes, pumpkin pie, a non-religious holiday about family, parades. I learned about the Pilgrims and Indians getting along and having Thanksgiving dinner, and that hit home because I am Indian. Well, Indian South Asian, but I was born in the US. For me, that was close enough. I was included in an American holiday. I was an Indian kid growing up as the only Indian kid in my classes, and when I would think about pilgrims and Indians, it would remind me that we weren't so different. We were the same. We were all family coming together, and I loved that feeling of belonging, the feeling that somehow I was part of the American story. But the indigenous peoples of America, I wondered, did they feel like they belonged? To America? To the American story? To this holiday? Where were they in my history books? And really, not in a lot of places. I got the story of the settlers, but not the settled, beyond Thanksgiving, which is weird, because clearly if we were celebrating Thanksgiving, there's a whole history behind America before then. And I know what that's like. My own family came from a country colonized by the British until 1947. There's a whole history there prior to colonization. So I started watching and learning, found out how much I didn't know, how much pain, trauma there is, that a country we are celebrating began with genocide. But the point is, I've never learned this before, and that bothers me as an American, because indigenous history is the history of America. It's the history of this land. It's the history of a people that existed prior to colonization. I may not know a lot about indigenous history, but I do know what it's like to try and learn about your country's history and the culture and the history of your people after colonization. I'm Indian American. So what about today? History is good context, but the present is better. What about indigenous peoples now? Many probably attend the same schools I did and got the same story, the same fairy tale story. That good was somehow inevitable and it happened? Really? I mean, it makes for a great story, but it's rewritten and often missing bits. Huge bits. Some entire communities. I know what that's like. I know the bits and pieces I got about India in school in world history and geography. I would often learn things that were incorrect and have to come home and have my parents correct them. But I'm lucky. When I learned about India, I learned that there are hundreds of languages and peoples, but when we talk of indigenous peoples, we sometimes forget that there are hundreds within the Americas. Hundreds of tribes, traditions, languages, hundreds of unrecognized tribes in the US. I know what that's like. My own language was not recognized in India as an official language until 1992, a year after I was born. Now, if you're watching this video, you're probably savvy enough with a click or two to find many lists of resources and articles about histories, lived experiences, and incredible people. But today, let's be grateful to have time. Time to live, time to learn, and show actionable compassion. There are so many organizations to support indigenous communities through COVID-19 and beyond. And time to realize just because it's history doesn't mean that it doesn't affect people and their lives today. And in fact, you can start the day after Thanksgiving with Native American Heritage Day. Thank you.